Welcome everyone to another episode of Around the Block talk show. Today we have with us Mr. Rohan Sharan. He is an alumni of IIT Kharagpur, founder of Timechain Labs, and also the Bitcoin Association Ambassador for India. Very happy to have you here today with us, Rohan, and I'll hand it over to you.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. And nice to meet you, Pradeep.
Thank you, Rohan. So we can proceed with the topic of discussion that we have today. And we would love to discuss what you're doing at your own organization, Timechain Lab, and we would love to know about the initiatives.
Beautiful. Timechain Labs is focused on Bitcoin application development, specifically on one fork of Bitcoin called Bitcoin SV, which is one of the forks that emerged from the civil war in Bitcoin that happened from the block size debate, which was about scaling the block size. So this is the scaling unbounded version of Bitcoin, which I build applications, provide a service to build applications on. It has smart contract capabilities as well, which have been unlocked, which were always there in Bitcoin, which many people do not know. And unbounded scaling size of the blockchain enables us to achieve transactions per second capacity of more than 50,000 transactions per second at a transaction fee of 0.1 paisa. So it's very efficient to use. And that's what I believe to be solving the great blockchain scaling problem that we have had for a long time. I've been in this space for 7 years now, actually. So I have seen Ethereum come. I have developed on Ethereum and EOS and other proof of stake blockchains to figure out a scaling solution. In the end, to realize when Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV forked happened, that actually proof of work does scale if the block size is simply restriction of it is removed, and it scales beautifully because all transactions are parallelized, because it doesn't, there are many reasons for it. Like it follows a cash-based model. That's what Satoshi Nakamoto even wrote in a white paper as digital cash, peer-to-peer digital cash. So some problems come in when you follow an account-based model like Ethereum has followed and have global state. So it creates scalability issues, gas fee issues that we are aware of. And my company, Timechain, there's a story behind why it's called Timechain. So actually, Satoshi Nakamoto never used the term blockchain in his writings. He only used the word time chain in a few instances to talk about what he was building, calling the data structure as time chain in the code, in comments in the code and references. So why does he call it that? That's what the property of the blockchain is. It's a time chain, actually. It's a distributed timestamp server, as he had written in the white paper. So it's recording events or facts, whatever data we propagate in time. And miners are actually witnesses. They are witnesses of any event that happens, and they add it to the chain in time that happened, and then they protect that information that it cannot be changed. That's the property of tamper-resistant property of blockchain that we really value. That's the one property that is valuable. That is created through the incentive and the system of proof of work that buries transactions through computational work, which creates economic cost. So the actual property, even if you have a blockchain and it doesn't have the proof of work economics, the economic cost to bury the transactions, as that you have to have that much of a cost to redo the entire chain. That is what protects the transaction from getting changed, from getting reversed, right? So actually it's an economic cost. So that's why even if you have proof of stake, what happens is the committee can still decide and change it without any economic cost. There's no cost to changing it. So you have stake is basically stakeholders deciding in any fashion of who is going to be the next block producer, how it's going to be. So, but in proof of work, it's actual economic cost as which is protecting the previous transactions as well. Events that happen, they are facts, they don't change. So like in a record, how we used to even maintain ledgers is write once, read many times. So worm storage, that's a requirement for financial transactions as well. So if you have to make an edit really, so what you do is you add another update to the record saying that this is the update, but the previous record doesn't go. So then you figure out, okay, what's the latest state of whatever you want to look at. So that's what the model of the Bitcoin ledger is. And there is more to this. What I am doing then, besides the service business, is also building products bootstrapped from the service business, which is the first product is actually a widget to top up crypto, particularly Bitcoin SV, because that faces a liquidity problem. So any app actually or any wallet you use of Web3 or blockchain app, the first thing is your users need access to Bitcoins or whatever crypto is powering that app, right? To even play with the app or test the app, use the app. And then we are pointing them to exchanges to get the KYC done and then get USDT, then get the particular coin and then withdraw, figure out all the ask and bid orders and what all that is. You lost the customer, lost the user until they went through all these hoops to just use the app. So what is Bitrupee is a product which is a widget which solves this very easily. It just pops up and you can top up with the standard payments of UPI or normal payments that we have, and you get the crypto in the new wallet that's created that time itself for the app, and you can use the app, play with the app, earn from the app, and off ramp. So that's an off ramp and on ramp solution. That is our first product. And the next one is actually Newcron. Newcron is the flagship wallet of Timechain Labs. Again, its name is standing for new time because Cron stands for time. We have a theme going of focus on time always. So Newcron is the wallet that we envision to log in with for every app that we build, like auth wallet, wallet auth, and it's not a crypto wallet. Interestingly, we call it the digital micropayments wallet. There is no exposure to crypto to people. There is people transact directly in INR. They deposit rupees and they earn in rupees. They spend rupees. But what the wallet enables them to do is have the micropayment economy, the games and the apps which are powered by micropayments, in which they earn, let's say, that's the vision of the internet was actually supposed. This is a problem actually that Bitcoin was made to solve. It was made to solve the micropayments problem. So to have global micropayments on the internet of small amounts with a click or with the small micro interactions, let's say loading a page or asking for Google search results or anything, you have to be able to do half rupee payments for small things managed by the wallet, which you have logged in from your browser or an extension, let's say, like MetaMask is, right? So Bitcoin was actually not, there's no need for large payments, but yeah, the main thing is to enable micropayments. That's where the economy of data opens up on the internet. So we move away from advertisements and subscriptions, the two models we have on the internet right now, to a natural data economy of valuing the whatever data you're requesting. Let's say you load a Wikipedia page, you pay half a paisa or some 10 paisa for loading that page. You don't care, but the person who was creating the page, they earn from the page. And because everything on the internet happens at scale, they can earn a lot from the page. millions of hits, millions of views per page. So it becomes an asset. Multiplier effect on the internet is big. So even though the micro interactions are small by themselves, so once you can value things at a granular level, you do get access to this economy, which is supposed to be the internet's natural economy, which was supposed to happen, which couldn't because we didn't have the tech before Bitcoin came. Unfortunately, Bitcoin totally deviated from this vision. That's why, you know what, Bitcoin SV is called Bitcoin's Satoshi vision. So it's bringing back the vision of Satoshi and focused on achieving that vision of the internet, of a peer-to-peer internet with micropayments, enabling a data economy. Imagine a world where machine-to-machine interactions also happen and payments are automatic between machines of micropayments for data. You have streams of data from sensors coming in for payments. So that's what, even with the Newcron wallet I told you about, what the vision is to have the wallet function as your control center of your life, because wallets are going to be a key central piece of our lives. Digital wallets particularly. Already physical wallets are key. They have our keys, they have our identity, they have our money. But now digital wallets are going to have our data as well as our digital keys, as well as our digital identity, which is digital passports, digital Aadhaar, and digital keys for unlocking car or anything else, and digital cash already, like we see digital money coming in, and also controlling our home devices and everything else from the wallet as well. So wallet will be the control center of your life. So that's what Newcron is focused on becoming, starting with the micropayments part of it. Um, so yeah, different websites. We will be soon seeing how. Imagine, you have always seen, right, how news you load, you are hit with a paywall for seeing you to subscribe. So the wiki model I already told you about, which is loading pages with micropayments, where the creators of the page who contributed to the knowledge of that page, they earn for the page, and the people who are consuming that page, they pay for that with micropayments. And Wikipedia no longer needs to be begging for money, and neither do the creators need to be doing any charity work, because they're contributing. So there is an economy there. It's just micropayment based, and that is enabled. So that's what the third product is. It's called Counterpoints, and we're building that one. So yeah.
Sure, Ron. So thank you very much for that talk. So now you mentioned that particular fork of Bitcoin, right?
Mm,
So and now we see a number of blockchain solutions coming up. Both
mm.
so there are level ones, there are levels two. There are all kinds of solutions out there. So why do you believe that particular fork, that particular thing that
Mm.
you selected is going to solve the problem over other possible solutions?
So I've seen the debate happen, and I
Mm-hmm.
know the reasons, the entire thesis of
Mm-hmm.
coming up with the off-chain solutions, layered solutions, and then proof of stake
Mm-hmm.
is based on the fact that proof of work does not scale, or there's problems with it. But then when Bitcoin Cash came into the scene and it scaled to 50 MB blocks, and it actually worked without any problem, that thesis was proven wrong. And we realized that you have an economy of scale occurring here. So actually, proof of work becomes efficient at scale. So it's like having an hospital, and a big hospital made for scale, but actually not using it and only having 10 beds filled. So it looks inefficient. It looks like it cannot scale because the block size is restricted. It's just like that. If you restrict the number of patients, even though it is a scalable structure, then it looks like it cannot scale. It doesn't scale. It's inefficient. But the same hospital, when you allow patients to be there in the hospital and use the hospital, they fill up the hospital with all the beds, all the capacity.
So, so now this is a proof of work, and all the all the Bitcoin architecture in essence. And so you also mentioned that it enables smart contracts. So, so all of this, does it make it more efficient than the present day Ethereum or present day layer 2 solutions, because even with Ethereum, they are now shifting to proof of stake. They're moving away from proof of work. So, what are your views on that? And how do you
Yeah,
see the
yeah.
other competition here?
So proof of stake, they have been telling me that they are going to shift from my third year of IIT itself, that they're shifting to proof of stake and solving the problem. And they have still not shifted, and it's not that easy to shift. And even when they shift, let's say, proof of stake itself has its own problems. First of all, you can see the chain crashes sometimes. This happened the first time when I was myself invested into EOS and thinking that EOS will be the one that scales, doing the $1 billion ICO. And the moment the chain began with delegated proof of stake, which I totally believe that it will work, uh, it had a block. The chain froze, and the miners were then having to call the miner who was responsible for making the next block to go online and make some miners up. So basically, what happens is incentives. It's about the economics. You have to be incentivized to be performing very well and performing at your best capacity with the huge investments into supporting the network, because for profits you have to do that. So what happened in proof of stake is these incentives are twisted in, because you are elected or selected through whatever mechanisms, random selection, voting, whatever. It's not performance based. So it's a marketplace of block production and consumption of transactions, and miners are competing to make the next block. So what happens here is the Bitcoin blockchain never goes down. So even in Solana, you see some of our it keeps crashing again and again. It is proof of stake based. And Polygon had an update. So one thing else is there, that this protocol has to be set in stone. You can't have updates to financial contracts that have been made for long-term contracts. The protocol should not be changing all the time. It has to be set in stone. So that's the philosophy of Bitcoin SV as well, because you have legal contracts and financial contracts that stand for decades. And you can't have a transaction not working or a chain going down when it's about finance at all. So what happens here is the set protocol is totally set in stone, and it's a marketplace for block production, and it's competitive, and miners invest. If one miner goes down, who it doesn't matter, there are 10 other miners willing to happily take the money and make the next block. So it's not reliant on any single miner, or there's robustness in this network. At the same time, there's quality as well that you get with businesses competing and investing and raising the level of bar of competition and improving, which is needed to really support a network at scale. Just That's the incentive I'm talking about and coming to again and again. That without this incentive of earning big rewards on the transaction fees by making a block, you don't have an incentive to have a high uptime, a high availability, and serve the network with data farms forming. So actually, Satoshi also mentioned this in the paper, not just in his papers, but in his writings, in his comments in the forum and all, that he envisions not every user will be running a node, and obviously there will be specialization, and miners will specialize into data farms that will connect and support the network, because that's just how an industry forms. You have professional firms forming which compete at scale. So at scale this happens. So what has happened now is also the network is also important. So it's not just about the economics and incentives. There's another reason. So miners connect with other miners who are producing blocks, and they have to invest into connectivity as well, not just hash power. If they just invest into hash power, but they're not able to propagate the blocks quick enough to the miners who matter, who are producing the next block. So it's not just competitive, it's competitive collaborative network, competitive collaboration. So they have to invest both in connectivity and hash power. So what happens is, as the network goes on, a highly connected, hyper-connected network forms with every miner connected to every other miner who matters, who's producing blocks. So this is important for transactions to be propagated to every single miner in just less than 2 hops. That's the distance of connectivity in the network of Bitcoin. It's a hyperconnected network, which forms also called a mandala network. That is naturally formed because of the structure of the competitive nature of it. Hyperconnected network. So that causes the transactions to propagate within milliseconds in just less than 2 hops to every other miner. So actually, in Bitcoin, in the two model of Bitcoin, you don't even have to wait for the block confirmation for the entire block to be mined. That's like waiting for 3 days for your payment, because bank settlements take time. But actually, bank finality of the transaction you get instantly. Say, was the transaction finality you can have very quickly, because the transaction has propagated within milliseconds in less than 2 hops to whoever matters, whoever is building the maximum match point. So you have finality that the transaction will be mined, and you don't have uh, replaced by fee which was brought in later by BTC. But Satoshi, the way he designed it, the transaction is irreversible and cannot be changed by another transaction. It's actually double spending. So truly, you have first seen rule where only the first transaction matters. But yeah, I'm going off topic. Back to why proof of stake and proof of work, and how it scales. Why I think this is going to work is the incentives reason, as I said, and because also this to be hyper connected and competitive and available. So Bitcoin is actually solving the trilemma that we talk about, the blockchain trilemma. It's actually, it was solved by Satoshi. That was the thing. That was the innovation. The entire thing was, it was solved through economics, through the competitive nature of it. It created the incentives for the miners to be in a hyper-connected network and solve the trilemma, basically, which is actually not a problem.
Right, Rohan, and with that, thank you very much for appearing on the show today. It was great to interact with you.
Oh, thank you.